Hello and welcome to Big Dumb Movie, where we discuss a different Big Dumb movie every episode. I'm your host Corey, and I'm here with my co-hosts Alan.
Hello.
And Steve.
Yeah, hi.
Hey Steve, how you doing?
Oh, I'm a little depressed.
Why?
I just had to sit through After Earth.
Oh. That's harsh, man.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, things you do, you make your friends do to you.
So, I mean, those that listened to our last episode, they probably heard that this time around we're supposed to review M. Night Shyamalan's Lady in the Water. But we had a little group discussion and decided, let's watch After Earth instead. It has Alan's favorite actor, Jaden Smith. Has Steve's favorite actor, Will Smith.
They're both my favorite.
And, this is just the right way to go.
By group decision, Corey means that he and Alan decided to do this to me.
Don't forget Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe, I think.
Or Zoe. No, it's Zoe.
Is it? I don't know. She's barely in it.
Yeah.
For those listeners that have heard our Independence Day episode, Steve actually hates Will Smith, and I think I uncovered why on that episode. So if you want to know the truth about Steve's disdain for Will Smith,
smear me. I'm going to be the poster child for some horrible political cause. God.
Yeah, that's right. I got to put a picture of you on our Instagram so people can just put up flyers.
Right. Oh, dude, you're going to assassinate Steve's character?
Right? I'm suing for libel.
Defamation.
Defamation. That's it.
Big Dumb Movie owes me $10 million.
Right? It's because we're profitable enough for that.
Oh, yeah. This podcast is just a money pit, man. It's constant loss.
Corey's keeping it all, everybody.
We're torturing ourselves and losing money.
Right.
You're right. Think about that. What are we doing?
How dedicated we are.
This is for you.
So After Earth is the movie we watched this time. It came out in 2013, not too long ago. It has an 11% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's pretty good. It was directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Sort of.
The story was by Will Smith. Now, I don't know anything about the making of this movie. I actually did no research. Steve, do you know anything about how this movie came about?
Yeah, a little bit. So apparently Will Smith was sitting around at home with his wife Jada Pinkett's brother, and they were watching survival shows. And they were watching one that's, I can't ever remember the right title. It's called I Shouldn't Have Lived or I Shouldn't Have Survived.
Is that the one where the guy always drinks his own piss?
No, that's Bear Grylls.
That's Bear Grylls.
Oh.
Yeah, this one's usually, each episode's a different story about people who were in some kind of crazy incident of some kind, and it really didn't look like they should have survived it and ended up living anyway. And they were watching this episode, and apparently based on what they were seeing, Will Smith came up with an idea about a father and son who were in a car crash somewhere in the really remote mountains, and the son had to go out on his own to try to get help for the injured father. And that turned into After Earth. It just kind of evolved.
It turned into the international sensation sci-fi epic.
Right? Yeah, he decided it should be a sci-fi story and it should be bigger, but apparently, Shyamalan's involvement was almost an afterthought. I guess he and Smith had been looking for something to work on together, but from what I've read, Smith came up with pretty much the entire story himself, wrote or supervised the writing of the script himself, that Shyamalan had almost no real involvement in developing the film at all, and that, in fact, even on the set, Will Smith was doing more of the directing than Shyamalan was. So I think this was really his project, and Shyamalan was just involved to sort of be involved. And Jada Pinkett was one of the producers on the film. This is really a very nepotistic thing. He wanted to get his son into a movie, and they'd already done The Pursuit of Happiness together. And he specifically went out of his way to direct all of Jaden's scenes himself and to give Jaden acting advice, which did not help anything. And yeah.
So this is what launched the superstar we know as Jaden Smith.
I suppose this was one of the stepping stones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan's favorite actor, right?
Right.
So if M. Night Shyamalan didn't do much, but his name's on the movie, for better or for worse, in this case probably worse, he gets money and credit just for having his name there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to imply he did nothing, but from what I understand, Will Smith was basically in charge of this production.
But his name on there gets him credit for it.
Oh, right? Yeah. And in fact, when the film's reviews turned out not to be good, he just kind of took the criticism over it without ever, I guess to his credit, his character. Like, he never said, well, actually, most of this was Will Smith's idea. He just kind of absorbed it. So.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he, worked hard on it or whatever, but he probably just wasn't the full M. Night Shyamalan hands-on director that he's accustomed to being.
No. I mean, even when he's doing that, most of it doesn't turn out very good. So.
Yeah, there was like a turning point for M. Night Shyamalan. Do you guys, Alan?
Immediately after The Sixth Sense came out?
It was immediately after Signs. Signs, and even that was borderline. I mean, I don't know. I liked that movie.
I liked The Village personally. So really? My opinion is it was after The Village. But you think Signs?
I think
was
it was Signs, and even that was kind of borderline because the ending got kind of weird where they're allergic to water.
Yeah, I mean,
and the whole scene with the bat and Joaquin Phoenix has to hit the alien.
It's just such a ripoff of War of the Worlds, where it culminates with them realizing the aliens are vulnerable to human disease. It's just
it's not a ripoff. War of the Worlds is disease, and Signs is water.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the same.
No, you know what? You're right. It's not the same. War of the Worlds is substantially better in every possible way. Like every version of it, including the original radio production.
Yeah, I was going to say, which version are you referring to here?
I mean, I'll argue to the end of time, regardless of whether or not I loved that on its own, that War of the Worlds, the movie, the Spielberg movie, is a better movie than Signs is. But
is it a better movie than After Earth?
Well, I mean, almost anything is.
I mean, it's not like Theodore X bad.
No, I mean, look, everything in terms of production. Like this, the set design, the art direction, the cinematography, it wasn't inadequately made. It didn't come off as if people who didn't know what they were doing made this movie. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah, it was like not attention getting. I felt like not very invested in any of it.
Yeah.
And Will Smith's like robotic role, like I got what they were going for, but it was just bad. Like translating onto the screen.
I don't think it would have helped the performances. It still wouldn't have ended up being very good. But the original cut of this film was something like 130 or 140 minutes long, and they trimmed a lot out of it for the theatrical release. And I mean, look, there's every chance in the world the longer cut of it just would have been complete torture to sit through, because even this is not fun.
Yeah, but what is longer? Like, he's just fighting more.
Well, apparently there was
animals?
A lot more background at the beginning of the film about exactly what happened to Earth and like the humans colonizing Nova Prime and what Will Smith and his son were doing on this mission to begin with. And that part of me feels like it would have helped flesh out the story and make the movie a little less offensive, because a lot of it just there wasn't enough background. Excuse me, but at the same time, I think the flip side of that coin is it was just that much more bad content.
Screwed if you do, screwed if you don't.
Yeah.
Screwed if you don't. When you put it like that, that makes sense, because even at the beginning, when they're first going on the mission to Philly, what the hell is that planet? I forgot it already.
Yeah, I can't remember what they call it.
Like, doesn't matter.
Philatos or something. When they first go on the mission, they have zero explanation why they're going there.
Yeah. You don't know where they're going.
You just
or
like pack your
what.
bags.
It's a fishing trip.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much of that in this movie. There's so much of the background, like how did everything on Earth get changed so quickly, and why can't people breathe the air on Earth anymore? Like,
why were they going there in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's strange. Like the kind of evolution the movie implies takes millions of years, but apparently, one thing I had to look up because I didn't remember, the movie takes place in the year 3071, which they're completely unspecific about. You have to like look that up to find it out.
The year of our Lord.
What's that?
The year of our Lord.
The year of our Lord, that's correct, right?
3071.
Why don't they have guns?
But,
they just have swords.
Yeah, but I mean, even like 3071's, that's not nearly enough time for any substantial amount of evolution to take place. You know, it's like saying we went from Homo erectus to Homo sapien.
Here we go. Steve the Scientist is back, everyone. You might remember him from the Super Mario Brothers episode.
Right.
In between watching shitty movies, Steve attends college at some fucking science university. I don't know.
University of Taco Bell.
Steve the Scientist. All right, hold that thought, Steve the Scientist. So M. Night Shyamalan, real quick, I just want to establish a rule. No fucking M. Night Shyamalan jokes in this podcast. We're highbrow and we're above that. So I don't want to... You know, everyone says the same thing. Like, you watch like a YouTube video like, M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong. Ha ha ha. We're not doing that, all right? I'm just laying down some fucking ground rules.
Look, I'll follow those rules. I'm not going to insult the man, but I will insult the movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could assault the man too, just not the name. It's just low-hanging fruit. It's just too easy.
I'm not a fan of like low-hanging fruits. Those aren't really that funny.
Anyway,
Farts.
But
now that's okay. That we can deal with.
boobs.
Nibbles.
All right, so real quick, actually, I was thinking we should have watched The Happening. It's kind of funnier. Have you guys seen that one?
I've
Yeah.
seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's funnier.
I like your definition of funnier.
What? No.
It has a somewhat similar acting with Mark Wahlberg just being emotionless.
Mark Wahlberg is great in that movie.
Well, I don't know about now. He was at one point a complete piece of shit in real life, but I guess you got to let that go.
Oh, yeah, I think you told me about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, where he beat that Vietnamese man.
Yeah, like he was a total racist and basically a junior gangbanger, and yeah, bad news.
I read a lot
But
about
if you're
that,
listening, Mark Wahlberg,
Maybe you're better now.
just DM us on Instagram. I'll give you Steve's address. You can settle this with him directly.
I would love something to sue Mark Wahlberg over. So.
I would pay money to see Steve fight Mark Wahlberg.
Me too, man.
Well, wait, can we rewind me to being 22 again? Because then at least I might have been able to stay standing for a while.
No, we'll give you like 6 months to train.
I'll take it.
Oh, in a tournament, Karate Kid style. You just got to find you the right Miyagi guy.
Oh,
If you win, Mark Wahlberg has to admit some of his movies were terrible.
Just about everything Mark Wahlberg's ever been done has been terrible. I
think he's good sometimes.
No, you know what? I'm going to take it back. You're right. Some of the movies he's been in actually have been very good.
Sometimes they find the right casting for him, like in The
Right.
Departed, and it just works.
Yeah, it
Oh, yeah,
does.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
That
But
is a good one.
the workout videos he made his Marky Mark are not so entertaining.
Marker?
Yo, what's up, Maki? Lounging here with Rich Mender from Gold's Gym. Yes, no handshakes in the video. And my cousin just here. We're just lounging. You know, the biggest question people ask me is why am I doing a fitness video? I'm a rapper, but I've been into fitness for a while. I've learned a lot. I know that you have to learn in order to really key in on the strong points, which is form, focus, and determination. And, I like being in shape. I've accomplished a lot. People always ask me, about running around in my underwear and trying to sell my body, but I think I've accomplished a lot. I have a lot to be proud of, so, why not share it with people?
Anyway.
All right, so After Earth. Let's go right into the beginning. Now, the beginning of the movie starts with Jaden Smith giving us a narration about kind of where we are, like the history of what happened to Earth and what happened with the planet, I guess, pollution and stuff. I'm actually going to put that in here.
He's believed to be so completely free of fear that to an Ursa, he is invisible. This phenomena is known as ghosting.
It's like Steve mentioned, though, and this is the first of the whole movie, where it's very brief and not descriptive. He basically says all pollution, they had to leave the Earth. The whole scene is like 2 minutes. Oh, they built a rocket. We set up a new home on Nova Prime. It just starts going at it and just explain the bare details of what you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't spend a lot of time on this Nova Prime or anything like that. The real focus of the movie is when they crash land. But is there any interesting points you want to bring up about the beginning portion, Steve?
No, it's just it's lazy. It's just here's 30 seconds of forward about like, oh, the Earth got real polluted, no one lives there anymore. And all the backstory we wrote and filmed to go along with that has been cut from the film, so don't worry about it.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Do it.
I didn't like the movie, and we'll get into that. But
You didn't?
the beginning scene, even before they explain how it starts, I didn't like the movie itself, but I liked that start when it's like you get right into it, or they don't explain it, but like he's like gasping to breathe. And I like that intro for, I guess, any movie or that format where they just get you right into it to grasp your attention.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's like they show him like gasping and he's like dying or he's hurt, but they don't explain it. Like it just goes right into it.
Yeah.
And then he gets sucked out of the ship.
Yeah.
Like, I will agree with you about that. My problem with it in this instance is that they do it, and it's one of those things where it's like we're going to open the movie by throwing you right into the action.
And that's what I like. Not this movie
Right.
particularly, but I like that.
But then 2 minutes later, we're going to stop and rewind you like 2 hours so you can understand how you got to where this opening scene is happening. It's like, what? No. If that's the order I need to see it in, then just show it in that order.
You know, I like that you brought that up because I thought the same thing.
Right.
They took too long to get to that original point where they brought you into the beginning. If it
throw
was
me-
shorter, it would have been better.
Yeah, don't throw me into the original battle and don't throw me into the middle of a battle and then make me after that watch how the battle started. Like, no, just do things in the order they happened.
I'm okay with that if it's not as long as it was here, because it took a while to get to that. And I was actually thinking that, like an hour into the movie, I was like, where's the point where we were in the very beginning? And it just took too long, like you said. That was bad.
So Will Smith, he's one of our leads here, right? He is a ranger. He's in the Ranger Corps.
Another thing that they give almost absolutely no background or explanation for. It's like,
No, they don't, like, at all.
he's this badass soldier and he kills these alien things, and other than that, you know nothing. Like,
No, yeah, they just say Ranger. They don't even explain it one bit.
What is a ranger?
well, assuming I understand it correctly, humanity moves from Earth to this planet Nova Prime, but finds out that there's this ultra aggressive alien species already living on that planet, which, for again completely inexplicable reasons, cannot even physically see human beings unless the human being in question happens to be scared. In which case, they give off a pheromone that allows this thing to see them. It's kind of like a T-Rex's vision being motion-based, which is actually a real thing, they think, but was exaggerated for the sake of Jurassic Park to make the effect greater. Like, this is amplified even further. It's like, I don't know why. Anyway. And the Rangers' whole role in society is to kill the Ursa, these alien things that were already living on this other planet when we got there.
Yeah, apparently the aliens actually sent the Ursa, which are their monsters.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you know what, you're right. They create them. Mm-hmm. But even still, it doesn't mean this advanced alien race creates this like biological weapon to kill off humans, but then engineers it in a way that it can only see people when they're scared. Wouldn't it be way more effective to just create giant rabid things that just kill every human being they see regardless?
That can see. Yeah. And do it like way better.
Yeah. I mean, why you've gotten to the point where you can genetically engineer other life forms, but you're limited to can only see people when they're emitting a pheromone? How oddly, weirdly specific. What a stupid story point.
Yeah, that's a weird setup from the beginning.
Right.
And when you mentioned it, what are those alien things? And they never referenced the aliens at all.
Yeah, you never learn anything at all about the race that created the Ursa, which is
that's in the sequel.
Well, no, I mean, see, now that's a funny thing because Will Smith and the other people involved really did think there were going to be sequels. In fact, they even had a series of spin-off novels planned and sequel films. This was going to be the starting point for a massive, like, Avatar-esque franchise, and I really do think maybe they were going to dive into the rest of it later, but yeah.
Avatar didn't even become an Avatar franchise.
No, well, but that's Episode 4, we can tie it to Star Wars again. May not be a perfect film, but that was the brilliance of the way Lucas crafted Episode 4. It is a
perfect film.
Right? It was meant to be really the starting point of the middle of a story. I mean, Star Wars is a 3-part story broken into 9 chunks. But Lucas had no idea if he was going to get to make more Star Wars movies. So Episode 4 was crafted in such a way that if he never made another one, it was fine.
Right.
Because you understood what was going on, and you understood what had happened, and it had an ending. Like, this was one of many examples of being the opposite. It's like, we're just going to leave all this open-ended shit, and if we make the sequels, we'll explain it. That's
but
not
if
the way
we
you
don't,
should do
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And they didn't, so it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So we've established the Rangers. They are not teenagers with attitude. They are, in fact, military people that fight the Ursa, which are the aliens that smell fear. Now, one of the leaders of the Rangers is Will Smith, who's Cypher Rage. That's his name in the film.
Ugh.
We have to make
right?
a point that it's CYPHERRAIGE. The most worst spelling for both of those words.
The most worst spelling. I agree.
Two things about this I'd like to address quickly. Number one, they're all human beings. They're all descended from people that moved to this other planet from Earth. Why all of a sudden are people getting weird names like Cypher?
And
like, you don't
Kaita, or what's his name?
Yeah, Kot or Fowler or whatever.
Katai.
Jaden Smith is Katai.
Why? Where are all the Bills? Where are the Kevins? Where are the Scotts? Where are the Marys and the Andreas and the Megans? Like, why would we suddenly start adopting the use of alien names just because we weren't on Earth anymore?
Katai, more like Kawhi.
Right? And then number two, did you notice their weird accents? Especially Jaden. He was really overdoing it with his. They sounded like they were trying to do a stereotypical New Yorker impression.
I was not advanced to Ranger, sir.
Weird East Coaster accent, but it's strange. Why? Why do they have the accents? Where did they move from?
Dino Hatton.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I thought the same thing, but with Will Smith.
Yeah.
I thought his accent was like way forced.
Yeah.
He had like
why
some
do they-
like a Caribbean, like
Yeah.
Jamaican almost.
I mean, it'd be one thing if they made it obvious it's supposed to be some kind of inherited accent. Like, I mean, you go to the East Coast, you go to the Midwest, somewhere like North Dakota, it's not, or even like Atlanta with a Southern accent. It's
Boston,
not
dude.
Boston, yeah. It's not an affectation. It's just that people in those parts of the country have been speaking in that way for so long. It just gets passed along from generation to generation. But like, there's no implication here that it's an inherited accent. It's just like, oh, everyone's got this weird accent and strange names.
Like how he talks, but it just sounds weird.
Yeah. Like, why?
I
Why?
hated that. That was bugging me the whole movie.
Right.
The few words Will Smith said.
And it's frustrating that they paid attention to these pointless details they then did not explain and left all these other story loopholes open. Like, can you maybe focus less on the accent, make the rest of the movie make more sense? I don't know.
They put all their budget into the accent.
That's where the budget went. So we got our Rangers, Jaden Smith, who is Will Smith's son, Katai. I'm just going to call him Jaden Smith, I'm sure.
Yep.
But he wants to be a Ranger, right? But he like fails the test. So he's not going to be a Ranger. He's kind of has like a weird relationship with his dad, who's emotionless and I don't know. He's kind of just a generally weird guy.
Yeah, every scene with Will Smith felt awkward and forced because in the movie, he learned how to ghost, and I hate that, and that was a whole stupid thing.
So let me describe ghosting real quick before you proceed.
Okay.
Ghosting is when you're with your girlfriend and you guys make a vase. I'm pretty sure, right? Did I get that right, Alan?
No, that's definitely true. And you definitely have to have Whoopi Goldberg be there.
No, go ahead, Alan.
Okay, well, so it's not the ghosting in the traditional sense, but it's stupid, and it's supposed to be where, like Steve mentioned, where these alien things can't smell your fear because you have no fear, or you've trained to be fearless. And that's why Will Smith is the ultimate badass, because he has no fear. But I guess that also means he has no other emotions, because throughout the whole movie, his character is supposed to be super militant, and his words are very brief, and he's super strict.
Yeah, he doesn't want to like hug his son.
Yeah,
and
he
stuff
has like
that.
no other emotions because he's just some killing machine.
So since Jaden Smith fails to become a Power Ranger, they decide to go on a little father-son trip / mission. I don't really remember where, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they never explain it either.
Before they get on the ship to go on their little trip, though, they see another Ranger that had like his leg like removed, presumably from like a battle, and he was saved by Will Smith at some point in the past, and the other guys like stand him up, even though he only has one leg. They put him on his feet so he can stand up and salute Will Smith. All right, that's important for later.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird scene, but whatever.
So what happens? We get in the spaceship. We're cruising around space. Will Smith, he like senses a disturbance in the force. There's like asteroids coming.
He touches the ship and you can like feel...
You can feel the
gravity field or
asteroids
something.
coming.
You
Yeah,
can feel
it's
the
so
gravitron mass changing or some bullshit.
That's how much of a badass
The
he
fucking
is.
gravitron.
Like, Will Smith's so badass, he's the only guy on there. The captains, the computers, nothing else can sense it, but Will Smith knows there's something wrong.
I bet if they'd done the sequels, they would have revealed that he's some kind of like genetically engineered super soldier, which is, I think, basically where this new movie with him is going.
They used
so.
gravitron DNA. They got, the ride that spins around and you stick to the wall. They extracted
that
its
thing, dude.
DNA.
That thing's so fun.
He's had gyroscopic implants.
He has a helicopter brain.
Oh my god.
So helicopter brain senses that the asteroids are coming. Here's where we get to the plot. So the ship goes down.
There's a plot?
Yeah, there is. The ship goes down. They have to crash land on Earth. Now, Earth has been like, no one's lived there for 1,000 years or however long, right?
And somehow 100 million years worth of evolution has happened. Like, okay, anyway.
Now, wait, let's go back a step, because when they're getting hit by the asteroids, he tells them to, like, the worm jump, or that they go through the wormhole. And I felt like that was a direct ripoff of Lost in Space, because they basically do the same thing, where they have to do the hyper jump to, like, not die. and then that's how they get lost. And they do the same thing in this one, and then that's how you were mentioning. That's how they get to Earth.
Yeah, that's how
So
they get there.
it was. I felt like a ripoff of Lost in Space.
Fuck yeah! How many sci-fi movies have started with the ship has to land because it got damaged in an asteroid storm?
But they have to
like,
specifically do the jump just like they did in Lost in Space.
right?
And then they're like, they don't know where they're going.
Except there's no... We don't have the magic of, what's his name, Matt LeBlanc?
Matt LeBlanc.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Joey.
At least that movie adaptation was fun. It wasn't great, but it was entertaining.
Oh, it's on the list. We'll see
Yeah.
if you still think it's fun next time we watch it.
That's so threatening.
Right.
I'm threatening
we'll
you
see.
with Lost in Space, buddy.
You see what they do to me, everybody? Save me. There's a Kickstarter going.
All right, so they crash land on Earth. Everyone is dead except Will Smith and Jaden Smith, and Will Smith's legs are broken. Jaden Smith is fine. Now, on the ship, they had an Ursa egg, and it's like, it got out or
Because
whatever.
the ship broke in two, it like separated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what do they got to do, Steve? What's Jaden Smith's like whole mission here? He has to go out to travel Earth to get something.
The premise from there gets set up. It's like a video game. Honestly, it's like a video game. It's like ultimately your goal is to get from point A to point B, but you've got these like side points you've got to make it through on the way there. And so the ship came apart while it was crash landing, and the tail section of it has landed several miles from where they are. And they've got these two rescue beacons that are designed to send a huge pulse into space that can be picked up by other people. But one of the two probes was with them in the front half of the ship. The other was in the tail section. The one that's with them in the front end of the ship no longer functions. So Jaden, because his father's legs are both broken, has to go across through this forest and canyons and rivers and etc. to find the tail section where this working probe is. But there are going to be some difficulties along the way.
That's right, because
Every single decision you make will be life or death. This is a Class 1 quarantined planet. Everything on this planet has evolved to kill humans.
That's important to remember because he says that specifically, and turns out it's only like 4 things.
Right? Well, I mean, and then we get the caveat about the oxygen capsules.
okay, so how do the oxygen capsules work?
I think you mean Tide Pods.
Tide Pods, what they look like. Basically, the idea is supposed to be, and here's again an element that is totally unexplained. For some reason, the oxygen content in Earth's atmosphere, I guess, has dropped to the point that humans can't breathe properly on the surface of the planet. So you use these pods that coat the inside of your lungs with a fluid that helps collect extra oxygen so that you can breathe comfortably while you're on the planet's surface. Now, I get the fact that humans are supposed to have polluted the hell out of the planet. And that's what drove our exodus from it. But there are, through the course of the movie, we see large predatory cats. We see chimps. We see condors. We see small birds and insects. They're like, the oxygen composition of Earth could not have changed that much if all these other animals are still alive. Like, large predatory cats are not adaptable to a low oxygen environment. Like, that's not how it works. So why is it suddenly human beings can't be on the surface without needing these things that coat your lungs?
Now, here's a question. I didn't even think of watching it. How did Will Smith breathe?
Yeah, that's another. Well, I guess that's a good question because I was thinking to myself, maybe it's because he's still on the ship, but the ship is so
broken,
destroyed.
it's damaged.
Yeah, there's
it
no way
crashed.
its oxygen filtration system still works.
Or it's like sealed. It's crashed. It's like in pieces. How is it even sealed then?
That's a good one. That's another one.
So how did Will Smith just not need to breathe?
He should have been dead. Yeah, I don't know.
Sheer Will Smith coolness kept him alive.
Just total will to keep on living.
He was
Cypher Rage.
the millennium kept him through it.
No, this movie takes place in 3071. They're
The
outside.
millennium's over.
The millennium's over.
Yeah.
The millennium ended in
That's
2099.
the second millennium.
Second millennium.
God damn it. You already got one. You can't have 2 millenniums, Will Smith.
Yeah, Will Smith cannot have more than one.
You shouldn't even
millennium.
have had one.
Yeah, well, one was way too much. I
We
would have
should have
given.
never let this happen.
I would have given him a weekend. Go to Will End.
You got 1,000 years? What
Right.
the fuck?
I'll give you 48 hours. Well, it's the most you're getting.
It's the Will Weekend.
So this is where Jaden Smith sets off on his travels throughout Earth. He's kind of in like a forest region or is it more of a jungle?
No, it's a little inconsistent, but I'd say forest. With all the big redwoods and stuff, it looks very reminiscent of like the Washington, northern Washington or Oregon area.
I thought it was like an Amazon setting or like a forest.
No, that's where you buy stuff online. That's
Right.
a different thing.
Because they had huge redwood trees. So, I mean, that was very foresty. It seemed more foresty than tropical to me. But I don't know.
I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah. Now, we start having some like intermittent flashbacks from Will Smith and from Jaden Smith about they used to have, well, I guess Will Smith had a daughter, Jaden Smith had a sister, but their house was attacked by one of the creatures. What are they called again?
The Azru?
Or Ursa.
Ursa, there it is. I was trying to think what's Azru backwards. Yeah, so Zoe Kravitz was the sister and she got killed. I guess that's supposed to like give some meaning as to like why they're so emotionally disconnected.
Well, they establish. It seems like Will Smith's character is mad at his son's character because the son didn't do more to protect his sister from being killed by the Ursa. But there's literally nothing most human beings could do to fight one of these things off, especially if they're not capable of ghosting.
Let alone a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, exactly. And the son's supposed to be like 10 when this happens. So is it possible that character's really meant to be angry, literally angry, that his 10-year-old son didn't volunteer to be murdered along with his older sister, making some literally pointless effort to save her?
That's how badass Cypher rages.
It's not like he was hiding in the closet this is not like the scene at the end of Saving Private Ryan where the one soldier could have saved the other from being stabbed to death.
That was a fucked up scene.
That was a fucked up scene. But that's not what was going on here. It's not like, oh, he had an opportunity to save her and he walked away from it. Like, he's a 10-year-old. He was hiding. What the fuck was he supposed to do? Like, how can you be mad at him over that? This makes a really, really annoying plot point. Like,
well, if only he could have been able to ghost, he could have saved the day.
Yeah, right?
It's an annoying plot point also because they just spread it out way too long throughout the whole movie. Yeah. They show that cut back like 6 or 7 times, and then you kind of already figured out what's going on after like the second or third flashback. But they just focus too heavily on that, and it's just so distracting when he's going through his journey, and they just keep flashing to that. Like, okay, I get it. And like you said, like, what was he supposed to do? Like, why is this such a point in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, that had no point other than to just... It felt dumb. Like you said, you just explained it, Steve. He was 10. He had no weapons. That's it.
It's like being mad at your 10-year-old for not doing something to defend your house when like armed gunmen come in. Oh, Billy, why didn't you try to fight with them?
Except the armed gunman's like a 7-foot ravenous alien.
Yeah, with multiple limbs that just like tears people apart.
Yeah.
So we're back on Jaden Smith's journey here. So one of the first things he encounters in his travels is a baboon.
Super baboons.
Super baboons.
Super boons.
They look like baboons, but I guess they're super because everything on the planet was designed to kill humans.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, even though people haven't lived there for 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get like 75 million years worth of evolution compressed into 900 years.
Yep. That's all it takes. So, I mean, Will Smith gives Jaden Smith some advice as the baboons approach.
Recognize your power. This will be your creation.
And this advice makes no sense. I have no idea what he's trying to communicate here.
Yeah, when he said that, I immediately just had that reaction. Like, what is this? Why would he say that?
I would bet $50 that Jaden Smith wrote that line. Because that kid's whole history on social media is just pointless shit that makes no sense splattered all over Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
It's always some weird, inconsistent, incoherent garbage that he thinks is like sage advice from a person who's figured the universe out. And it's like, no, none of that makes any sense. Like, literally meth addicts make more sense than you.
Come on,
like,
Steve.
No, I've seen rambling people on the sidewalk and on Figueroa downtown LA that make more sense than anything that fucking kid's ever put on Twitter.
You were once the youngest person in existence. On Saturn and Jupiter, it rains diamonds. How? Human saliva contains a painkiller called opioorphin that is 6 times more powerful than morphine. Sharks have been around for longer than trees.
Fuck you, you little dipshit!
It's
Start making
obviously
sense, you little bastard.
you're just jealous that he's so woke and you're not.
Exactly. And you know what? I honestly think he believes that. I really do. I am 1,000,000% convinced that Jaden Smith thinks the only reason anyone doesn't like him is because he's just operating on a level they cannot understand.
Steve, why do you hate the Smith family? What do they do to you?
Look, I'm not a fan of his father's acting, but on a personal level outside of his career, like, I have no opinion about Will Smith. But, like, Jaden as a human being, just, I would never harm him, but I don't want him to exist.
Make that clear.
Yeah. Like, if somebody told me he was moving to, like the mountains of Italy and becoming a Benedictine monk and we'd never hear from him again, I might throw a party.
Come on.
Like...
He's just living in the year 3000, just like this movie.
You just want him to stay off Twitter, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that'd be great. His sister got a bunch of shit for that stupid song about her hair, and she decided it was enough and she didn't need to be in the public eye anymore because she's not good at it, and she might be the smartest one in that whole family.
She whips her hair back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. She did one terrible thing, but she was a kid, and then afterwards she was like, you know what, I don't need to do this anymore. And it's just too bad that, like, Jaden couldn't have that same realization.
I'm going to throw it off topic here real quick, but I think this is very similar. If you guys remember the Osbournes, there was the one sister that, like, didn't want to do it, and she wasn't on the show.
It's like from
because
Ozzy's first marriage.
Because she thought it was dumb, and she didn't want to be embarrassed and all that.
And she just didn't, she was looking to have a normal life and just didn't want to be involved, which I can appreciate. Like, that decision makes sense to me. Like, I get what you guys are doing, but that's not my life.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She exists, but she was never on the show because she didn't want to do it.
She appeared like 3 or 4 times, but yeah, he has a daughter from a marriage from, I think, a relationship from before Sharon Osbourne, and she's a normal person. She hasn't done anything wrong. She isn't a weirdo. She's just, I just want to live a normal life. I don't want to really be known as Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. So she kind of removed herself from it. Which is respectable. I can get that.
Jaden Smith, though, has gone the opposite route.
Oh yeah. I mean, that kid. I mean, and nobody would ever have paid attention to him for more than 18 seconds if he weren't Will Smith's son. I mean, honestly, like, nobody would be following his Twitter. No one would care what he had to say. Just this obnoxious idiot 12-year-old. Like, but because he's Will Smith's kid, he gets to be in movies and people give a shit what he's up to.
Well, isn't that one of the flaws of nepotism is that he's not necessarily good, or you don't even have to be good, but just because you're related.
Yeah.
So, like,
and his career will last as long as his father's does. And as soon as Will Smith is either far enough outside the industry power-wise that he can't do it anymore, or he's dead, Jaden will just stop having an acting career.
Yeah, but Will Smith's been
Does Jaden Smith still get work, though?
Not unless his father's producing it, I don't think. I mean, he's done a bunch of music stuff, and he's managed to keep himself in the limelight on social media by doing a lot of weird, like, he's got this quote-unquote friendship with Tyler, the Creator, I think, the rap artist. And Jaden did this whole weird thing a few months ago where he started tweeting that him and this other guy were like boyfriends.
Yeah, I thought they were
dating.
Yeah.
But neither of them is gay. This is not a homophobia moment. It's like neither of them is gay. They're not dating each other. And the other guy had to come out and be like, no, he's joking.
I see. It was more of like a thing to try to just get some people to talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, and I get the feeling like even he doesn't believe this weird shit he puts up online. It's just like, look at me, I'm Will Smith's son.
Look at me, I'm Will Smith's son. Look at me, look at this weird shit I'm doing. Look at these things I'm saying. Look at the way I dress.
Like, I just can't wait till society gets sick enough of him that no one wants to pay attention anymore. Like,
dude, that might happen.
I hope so. Can't come soon enough.
Or
what would the jock from Terminator 2 say?
Shut up, you little dipshit.
he just hasn't found his Oscar movie yet. What if he like blows up into like a good actor?
That would be awesome.
That's a possibility. I'm just saying.
I'd be cool with that.
I mean,
could happen.
You know? Anything's better than this.
Yeah.
Either go that route or disappear.
Pick
like one of those two.
You can't be the shitty middle ground.
Right? Like, I get that you were a kid before, but you're close enough to being an adult now. Just like either put up or shut up. Either start doing stuff that's worth watching or disappear.
I think he is an adult now. Is he like 21 or he's like 20?
Yeah.
He's like
I mean, now. I think at that age it's still like I don't even mean to be shitty. It's still flexible. A 21-year-old, and this is coming from somebody who's been 21. Like, a 21-year-old's not really an adult. Not
30.
quite.
30.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the rule? I don't remember the exact numbers, but scientists don't think your brain's even done developing until you're like in your early 30s. So, you know, yeah. That's part of a whole different discussion. I don't think 18-year-olds should be allowed to vote. Somebody's going to get mad at me for saying that, so let's move on.
Steve, stop trying to take away people's voting rights.
Right?
What are you doing, man?
Right. Look, I just think the voting age should be 30.
9.
Yeah. Look, at that rate, even I'm not old enough to vote.
All right. Well, Steve, taking away people's rights and aside.
Disenfranchising everybody.
So, baboon face-off time.
Yep.
We got super baboons. We got Jaden Smith. What does he do, Alan?
He shouts some stuff. I think he throws some rocks at them.
Yeah, he throws a rock.
and then
provokes
he
him.
decides to run after
Yeah.
he hits him with a rock. Even though he has that cool cutlass, which that was stupid. I don't know why
He's
I
got
keep
no
calling it that.
guns, though.
No guns. Just this
Two-Face
weird-
would have fucking handled this situation.
With his one
Two-Face
gun?
has the one gun in all of Gotham, so that's
Well,
how
it's
that
better
works.
than Jaden. He has 0.
He's here just as this double-bladed weapon. 1,000 years from now, they've got no guns for some reason. Who knew?
They just got swords.
Yeah, right. We can get ships that can go through wormholes, but
I mean, they're
nobody's
pretty
got-
cool swords. They can form into like T-1000, like solid metal shapes.
That was
knives
cool.
and stabbing
I thought that
weapons.
was sick.
Right. Yeah, I mean that part was cool, but it was more like a Final Fantasy weapon,
Yeah.
than something that would actually be useful in that scenario.
Or like a phaser, like a stun gun.
Phaser.
You know, just something like other than this sword.
I trade it all for a hand phaser.
That would have been more effective. You could just stun the things.
Oh, I love it. We got Star Trek and Star Wars out of the way.
Look, at a distance, a bow and arrow would be more effective than that fucking thing was. I mean, that thing's good literally within like however far your reach is.
And thinking about it, you know what kind of bugged me is it was very underutilized until the very end. He never like killed anything with it. He just
Yeah.
kind of swung it around and kind of had it at moments. But the only thing he killed was that Ursa at the very end. He
spends-
never like used it.
No, he spends most of the movie being a pussy.
Yeah.
In fact, he doesn't really even get over it in the end.
Yeah.
Like,
He didn't kill the baboons. He didn't kill the lions. He only killed the Ursa at the very end once he discovers his powers. I thought he was going to start like slashing things, you know? I would have been like on a killing spree.
Once he starts ghosting.
Yeah. I would have fucked those baboons up.
Yeah, Alan would have handled
Oh,
it.
hell yeah. I would have charged with 2 of them and just started slashing everything.
Corey, why don't you think he and I are allowed back in the zoo? You've never seen him go on baboons before, bro. That was all Alan. I wasn't involved that day.
I have no fear.
It's a baboon killer over here.
Well, Alan has no problem ghosting, but Jaden Smith gets the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you guys a quick... Steve, you're a scientist.
Yes.
Can baboons swim?
I've heard my whole life they don't like water, but honestly, I should have looked that up at some point. I don't know if that's an urban myth or not. I can't imagine they're that frightened of water, but I don't know.
Because they're trying to kill Jaden Smith, and he gets away by jumping in the river.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've definitely been told before that they don't like bodies of water, but I don't know if that's a real thing or if it's just some prevalent urban bullshit, you know?
All right. I need a baboon, a kiddie pool, and half a bottle of tequila.
Yeah, right.
We're going to figure this shit out.
Handle it, Alan. All right, so what happens next? We got Jaden Smith. He's got bit by a leech, a super leech,
Super Leech. Yeah,
inside
that
the
poisons
river.
him.
Yeah.
And he's got to, like, Casino Royale himself and give himself a shot. Adrenaline, I don't know.
Casino Royale was cool.
Oh, the anti-venom.
Yeah, he gives himself the antitoxin.
And what did he pick up from the leech that was supposed to be so toxic? Like, they're never specific about that either.
They're never specific about what he picked up and that somehow they have an anti-venom for this exact venom or scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 1,000 years since people lived on Earth. They were not expecting to end up on Earth. Why is it they have an anti-venom kit specifically for river leeches with them?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
this just generic anti-venom that can somehow cure any poison.
Right.
Like they just had it. Like that was convenient.
Yeah, man, how good for you that you accidentally had that in your kit.
But no
you've
guns.
But you've only got one dose of it. You have no idea how many more times you might get bitten, so...
But luckily he didn't.
Like,
But the movie, what if he used his anti-venom and then he fell back in the water and got bit by another leech?
Oh, no. It's over.
Yeah.
that would have been great.
The movie ends 35 minutes in.
I mean, it still would have been 33 minutes too long, but...
Damn, Steve. Steve hates everything.
I'm a total curmudgeon.
All right, so he's making his way through Earth, gets to a cliff, right? So this is like a turning point in the film, right? Because he has to get down the cliff, and it would take too long to travel down, and his dad's like, all right, we lost. Come back to the ship. We're going to give up.
His dad's realized he doesn't have enough of the oxygen pods.
Yeah, that's right.
He doesn't
have
have
any more
enough
of the-
Tide Pods.
He was supposed to have 4 and like 1 broke, I guess.
Two of them broke.
Two of them broke, yeah.
But what didn't make sense is why he lied in the first place. Because when he first finds out they break, and then his dad asks him, he says he has 4, even though he had 2. But what was that supposed to get him? Because like, if he didn't have enough, he just would have died. Like, what was he trying to prove?
He just wanted to be able to prove to his father that he could figure out a way to do it.
Even though he like literally
He can do it. He's the best. Okay.
Right.
Because he didn't have like the necessary pods.
Yeah.
It just felt stupid. Like,
It is stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, he's low on the oxygen Tide Pods.
Well, how does he get out of the situation? He's got the cliff. What can he possibly do?
He jumps.
He jumps. He commits suicide. Decides to end it all.
He should only be so
Release of
lucky.
death.
But fortunately for him, and unfortunately for us, he lives. He gets rescued by a condor,
Well, the condor,
or a bird, a big bird.
It's a massive, massive condor. They're big birds anyway. I think the condor is either one of the or the largest living variety of predatory
The
bird.
wingspan, it's like insane.
Yeah, they're huge. And in fact, a group involved at the Los Angeles Zoo played a huge part in saving the California condor from going extinct. But
Condors. If I had cloned a flock of condors, you'd have nothing to say about it.
right? But I mean, it chases him and it captures him as if it's going to feed him to its chicks, and then it just kind of leaves him in its nest.
Well, because then they're suddenly attacked by super tigers.
Yeah,
Super tigers.
Super Tigers attack, and Jaden unsuccessfully he really tries to save himself, and then realizes that the cats are after the chicks as well, and he fails to save any of the chicks. So
Here's yet another scene where he fights off all the tigers, but doesn't actually use his sword to kill any of them.
yeah,
The bird takes 2 of them, because the bird kills 2 of the tigers. He traps one through the floor that falls. And I don't even know how he gets the other one, but like he doesn't actually stab or kill any of them, even though he has this cool sword.
Yeah. He just kind of lucks his way out of it.
Yeah, with the sword. I would have killed everything.
Alan would have handled that shit, for sure.
That's why he has that. I was so mad he didn't use it.
look, after he was done with the orangutans at the zoo, we went over to the condor section. He was pissing on the conservation signs, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on the news. Yeah.
Look, that was 4 years ago. Can we get over that?
Still haven't paid me back for that bail, by the way.
All right, guys. The Ursa's on the loose, which we find out. Remember, it feeds off his fear, so it's like, I don't know, it kills all the baboons at some point, right? We see the pile of bodies for the baboons,
Yeah.
I guess. Or I guess we assume it's the Ursa, right?
So yeah, the Ursa, I guess, can smell baboon fear also.
And Will Smith is like tracking it.
I guess because they're primates, they're close enough to being people.
They have the same pheromones.
Right.
So like while Jaden Smith's like running, it there's a point that we missed about like the climate of the Earth. Like it gets like super cold at night in certain spots.
This is another thing that doesn't make sense. Like that's the way the moon works. It's way hot on the side or at least tolerably warm on the side where the sun is shining, but so freezing cold that humans would die on the side the sun isn't touching. So like there's some scientific concept for that, but like that doesn't happen to Earth. Earth is close enough to the sun, it stays warm. And even in the case of the moon, like it's not like, oh, these 3 spots get cold. It's like the whole one side of it is cold. So the rules don't make sense. Why does certain chunks of the Earth get too cold all of a sudden at night? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was weird. They just threw that in there to make it more perilous.
Right?
Not perilous?
Perilous is a good one.
Yeah. They just threw it in there to make it more perilous.
I'll allow it.
Oh, look, now it's freezing. It's just another thing he has to deal with.
And he's about to freeze, right?
Yeah.
But he gets pulled into safety by someone that we don't see, a masked figure.
The Super Condor.
The Super Condor.
The Condor.
Which somehow is so appreciative at his failure to protect its chicks that it saves him from freezing because it's that smart. It knows what's going on.
And it dies itself.
Yeah, it sacrifices itself to Jaden for doing nothing on its behalf.
Yeah, condors are like known to like to pay back life debts.
Oh, they're like Wookiees.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick, dude. I'm gonna go rescue.
So if
one.
you ever do a favor for a condor, I know they don't seem like super intelligent animals, but they'll remember and they'll come back in your time of need.
Oh, when you need
like
them
if
the
you're
most.
like, say you're like behind rent or something, it'll like fly in a check.
You know, I've heard that about owls, blue jays, and vultures, but I had no idea condors were that way.
Oh yeah, they started it actually.
when my car breaks,
The owls copied the condors.
Oh, that's what it is. Did you know owls can also invite you to a magic academy?
I've seen, yeah.
when my car breaks
I'm poor
down,
though. I just have a rat.
when my car breaks down, the condor will fly in with the part I need.
Yeah.
Or a spare tire.
It's gonna like come in and replace your shit.
Well, that's why you keep the your membership in the Automobile and Condor Association, right?
The
Exactly.
AAC.
So the condor pays back his life debt and saves his life, but he's running out of Tide Pods, right? So he's gonna die soon unless he gets some more of those fucking things and eats them quick.
Keeps eating Tide Pods; those are gonna kill him.
He eats Dakota's lungs with bleach.
And we know we're getting toward the end here because he finds pieces of the ship, right? So he's near the tail and he gets a bunch of power ups. So like he gets a new weapon, which is just another sword.
Finds more Tide Pods.
Finds some Tide Pods. He gets like a fucking heart that gives him more health, I think.
Some potions.
Yeah, I
guess the Tide Pods.
his mana is completely full at this point, all right?
He has to load up before the final boss.
And the final boss is the Ursa, like we mentioned before. So he gets his little beacon. The whole point is he's got to get to this beacon to send the signal so they can be rescued. Will Smith is in the ship. His legs are broken. He's dying. He's not going to make it much longer.
He's
So
hallucinating because he's taking too many painkillers.
yeah, he's fucking really popping those fucking things. And
He's just dreaming about shit. Like, oh, yeah, that's the stuff.
dude's getting messed up for sure.
Yeah.
So Jaden Smith has to take his beacon up to the top of a volcano mountain thing. But what's waiting for him up there?
Ooh, it's the
Gollum.
Azru.
Gollum. Shelob.
If the condor was still alive, it could have carried him to the top.
Oh, I know, right?
Just like the Lord of the Rings.
Eagles.
Yeah.
You could have just ridden the damn things the entire way, you idiots.
There's that American Chopper meme where they're yelling at each other, and they have the one about Lord of the Rings. It's like the condor or the eagle just could have taken him, and then he's like pointing, and then he flips the table. Or what's that meme where they're just yelling at each other? Or he throws the chair.
Right. It's like he couldn't reach the condors.
Condors.
Or eagles, whatever they were.
All right, so we got the final showdown. We got the final countdown. It's Jaden Smith against the Ursa, and we see the Ursa in its full form. It basically looks like, it's a CGI giant bug, kind of. It's like something out of Starship Troopers. But
Yeah, it's very weird. It's almost like too generic. It's not anything special. It's like this just alien bug with arms, and it's flailing, and it can like spit some acid. Apparently,
the only good bug is a dead bug, though, right?
According to Michael Ironside.
I'm doing my part.
Yeah. That would have been nice.
Yeah, putting him in this movie couldn't have made it any worse.
Well, what happens here? Does anyone want to tell us about their fight where Jaden Smith gets the shit kicked out of him?
Yeah, so it follows a pretty typical arc where he encounters the Ursa. It's big, it's scary. He tries like to do a swing or two, but it ends up just throwing him and almost killing him. And they battle for like a minute or two, which is probably longer than it should have, because realistically, it probably just should have jumped on him and like ripped him apart.
For sure.
But he survives just long enough, and then once he's on the ground in pain and it's almost all over, he's like done for. He realizes his power, and he has the flashbacks, and he slowly learns how to ghost like in the moment.
He turns into a Super Saiyan.
Super Jaden.
My name is Jaden Smith, and I am a Super Saiyan.
Super Saiyan the
Probably
lesbian.
said that about himself at some point. Like,
So his Super Saiyan thing is like, he no longer feels fear. So I guess like in his moment of death, he realized he's not afraid anymore.
mimicking basically the same moment his father had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now because the bug can't smell his fear, it can't see him, so he just like chops its limbs off and stabs it a bunch of times with his spear.
Finally.
Further
which is what he should
underlining
have
a
done.
concept that makes no sense. It can only see when you're afraid.
He can use his sword against the big Ursa, but he can't stab some baboons.
No. He throws rocks at baboons.
I wish those baboons had just torn him apart.
Maybe for about an hour. Like the next hour was just them tearing Jaden Smith to pieces.
Snuff film. Yeah.
That could have been the twist. All right, so
The twist Amira was waiting for.
Where's the twist?
She was so disappointed.
yeah, so we watched this film with my wife, and after it ends, so let's get to the ending. So it ends. He sends the beacon out. He kills the monster. Will Smith is saved. They get rescued, and Will Smith stands up and salutes him just like the guy did to Will Smith earlier. But anyway, it all ends, and my wife goes, "Wait, where's the twist?"
Like
she was
genuinely, she was so like confused.
The twist should have been. Well, I guess I might be ruining another movie for anyone who hasn't seen it. But they could have just done the Jacob's Ladder twist, where the end of the movie is you realize that Jaden got torn to bits by the baboons, and the rest of it was just him imagining all that happening as he died.
Macaulay Culkin.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It was Macaulay Culkin in that film, right? His son.
In Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's been.
it
years.
was. Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
you're right.
What's his name? Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I haven't seen that in a while. That's a good film.
It was a good movie. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that would have been a cool twist. You just realized that like he barely made it off the ship. The rest of it was just him imagining it as he died. Like
Love
So
it.
it should have been Will Smith like just dozing off like they showed throughout the rest of the movie, or like Will Smith just imagining things.
I don't know.
It was stupid either
it could
way.
have just been a montage of footage from like Men in Black and ID4.
But that ending, Steve made a point earlier that the ending sucked because it was very abrupt. Once he gets the beacon and he kills the Ursa, they're just like rescued.
Yeah.
They don't show
Yep.
them getting rescued. They don't show.
It cuts and they're rescued.
Yeah, it cuts and they're like fine, or they made it. Like he did it.
That's usually the part of the movie where if they drag it out too much, I'm just like, oh fuck this, get to it. We know it's over. We know what's happening. Just give them the award and let's get the end of the movie.
They wrapped it up. They gave it a Steve.
Right, but in this time, like they did it too much even for me. Like even I could have sat through another 3 minutes just for that ending to be like proper.
Like they should have shown the
Like-
ship come down and like get them, or
Yeah,
just something. But
something.
he gets the beacon and then he's just like, oh, they're rescued.
oh
He
yeah,
did
they're
it.
fine. The end.
Yeah.
Like oh okay.
But before the end, the very last thing is what Corey mentioned earlier: is Will Smith has to stand up with his broken legs and
He
salute
stands on
Jaden.
both broken legs. Pretty good.
How the hell you could pause? He even makes a point of telling Jaden at one point. It's like oh this one leg's basically destroyed. Like it's no good at all.
Yeah, but that's how intense he is. Even though his legs are broken, he can stand up to salute his son.
Because Will Smith is badass.
It's like for rage.
I'll take your word for it.
Don't you agree, Steve? He's so badass.
It's not the word that comes to mind.
Oh, all right. So, twists. We don't have a twist in this film, right?
That's it. There's
This
no
is an
twist.
M. Night Shyamalan movie, though.
Sort
Now-
of.
Now, I've been thinking about this in these last few minutes. I just thought of this. So, you know how they have to ghost?
All right.
What if Jaden Smith was ghosting the whole time? Just like Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole time in The Sixth Sense? That's the twist. Jaden Smith is a ghost. That is ghosting.
Well, I don't know. It's not really any stupider than what they went with. So
I was just trying to think of the stupidest possible thing.
right.
Also, I felt like I learned nothing from this. Like, what was the point of the whole movie?
I
It
was
was
just
just
moral.
It's just that he just went on this mission and learned stuff and got rescued. He made a bonding with his father that took only one disastrous event.
Yeah, they finally found common ground, and the unreasonable old asshole stopped blaming his child. For
I
not
see.
doing
You're talking
more.
about themes, right?
Yeah, things like all
father,
it took was
son,
them almost dying.
Bonding.
forgiveness,
Yeah.
and getting over trauma.
I forgive you for not getting yourself murdered at 10 to save your sister from a situation she couldn't be saved from.
For
Like-
almost getting murdered again.
Right?
Yeah. You did it. Like what's the point? Like what this does nothing.
You know, and normally Jaden Smith and M. Night Shyamalan are such marks of quality.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And Will Smith. Don't forget
And
the
Will
king.
Smith, absolutely.
Steve's favorite.
The best. You know, you could put him and Jim Carrey in a movie together to be pure torture for me. Like,
How has this not happened? All right, guys. So I'm going to do something new here. All right? So based on something that my buddy Josh at Spoilers Podcast used to do, or sometimes does, I'm going to ask you guys a question. And that question is, who is the Jesus character? Now, this game might seem a little strange at first, but I think you'll get it after this. I think for the next episodes, it'll be easier for you. So, Alan, who is the Jesus character and why?
Well, there's really only, maybe 3. I was like, there's really only 2 answers because the movie's all just Will Smith or Jaden Smith. But there is that one weird flashback with his sister where she's like talking to him when he's on the raft.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of comes back to life in his dreams.
Okay. So your answer is Zoe
sister.
Zoe
Yeah.
Kravitz?
Yeah.
All right, Steve, who do you think is the Jesus character? Now, there is a right answer to this.
There's a right answer to this.
Yeah,
Huh?
formulated by me. And you'll get it,
I
I
was
think.
going to say, there's no right answer. You made that up.
Who is the Jesus character? I mean, I don't know. From one perspective, I think you could make the argument that like Will and Jaden both are, because they both have a moment where they sort of die as the people they were and then come back, like a resurrection moment. Maybe you could argue in that case that like Will Smith's character is God and his son Jaden is Jesus.
Oh, I'm going to edit that little bit of audio out. Thank you very much for that, Steve. Will Smith is God and Jaden is Jesus. I'm just going to take that
Created
snippet.
a monster.
I love it. So those are both really good answers, but they're both very wrong. All right? So
Damn. According to Corey.
I didn't
all
pay
right.
attention enough in After Earth class.
So the correct answer is the Jesus character was the Ursa because he gets killed by being stabbed, just like Jesus did. I think you guys get the game now, right?
Really? It's like that's what it's based on?
It's going to be different every time. Try to keep up.
So
I don't know if I agree with that assessment, but
whoever
all
gets
right.
stabbed or comes back to life.
The rules will be ever changing. So you
So-
have to try to get in my mind to beat this game.
The resurrection was way too deep. I didn't need to go that far. Like,
So on the next movie, I think you guys will be a little bit more prepared. I just sprung this on you, I know.
Okay.
so basically, if you get stabbed to death, you're Jesus.
Maybe. Unless I'm feeling something different.
Or your body.
You got to really
disappears.
assess my mood. You might want to ask me how I'm doing that day.
Oh,
what I've
you
been
know, all right. How you feeling about Jesus today, Corey?
Just wait for the movie where he turns water to wine. We'll nail that one.
What of all
Maybe.
the party tricks?
I'm not
that's the
going to
one I
make
wish
it
I
too
had.
easy for you. But it'll be a game from now on. Who's the Jesus character? Unless I forget, like I do with a lot of our segments. I don't think I asked what your guys' experience was with this film. Did either of you see it before today?
I had it running on HBO in my room with me once a few months after they started airing it, but to be honest, I was kind of only half paying attention to it. That's the closest thing to watching it through I'd had before.
Same
today.
exact thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it coming out. It looked bad. All the reviews were bad.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of disappeared and I never cared for it.
I thought like M. Night Shyamalan was going to have his kind of come back with this one at first. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, he's going big. He's going to do something cool. But, it wasn't.
He's publicly disowned this movie in the years since it came out. Like, he was willing to sort of take the blame for it over Will Smith, even though he'd had almost nothing to actually do with making it at one point. And then later on, he publicly disowned this and Airbender. I mean, surprise, surprise, he disowned the two that everyone unilaterally just completely hates.
Oh,
But,
Airbender's a good one.
Yeah.
And I mean, horrible.
Right? But yeah, I mean, and yeah, I don't know. This one I think is realistically just as much Will Smith's fault, assuming that the story about how it got developed is really the truth.
Do we know the budget and how many millions Will Smith got to say robotic lines?
What do you think you should have done? Because really, that is all that matters. What do you think you should have done?
I don't. I should have pulled that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you could easily
I
find.
mean,
but
he didn't have a lot of words in this movie. And in fact, he didn't even do a lot.
no, apparently, aside from the fact that he had the idea, his primary impetus was actually to get Jaden the work. When he originally approached Shyamalan about being involved with it, Will Smith had no intention of being in the movie. They wanted someone else to get cast for that part. He from what I've heard and read, basically pitched this to Shyamalan as a project for Jaden.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that because even though he was in the movie and he was supposed to be, well, arguably, he's one of the two main characters. It's just them.
Yeah.
And there's some very minor other characters like the sister and the guy in the beginning.
Right.
And the pilots, which don't ever appear again because they die. But, well, what the hell is I going to say now? Yeah, he doesn't do much because from the beginning, in the crash, he gets injured and he can't go anywhere. So he only gets flashbacks to him just sitting in the seat because he
Yeah.
can't move. So
Right.
his roles, like, he didn't do any stunts. He didn't do any, like, heavy acting. He just kind of sat there and pretended to be injured.
No, absolutely. I think if you had to say who's the main, like the one main character in the film, Jaden.
Jaden, yeah, because Jaden's the one that did everything. He was just sitting there.
Right?
Well, I pulled some numbers here real quick. So the budget for After Earth,
140.
130. Very close.
Oh,
Yeah, 130 million.
Yeah.
damn.
Now, the first thing that comes up when you look it up is a snippet of an interview from Will Smith where he says, that was a valuable lesson for me a few years ago with After Earth. That was the most painful failure of my career. Now, the rest of the article I don't see, but yeah, that's what he says about it. Now, the gross, worldwide gross was actually 243 million.
Yeah.
Considering marketing, they probably broke about even.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it doesn't.
probably best case scenario.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, at the end of the day, a really, really big box office science fiction film, the reviews have very little effect on a lot of the profitability. The huge percentage of the people that go see it are just seeing it to see it. No one's really expecting it to be great.
You want to go see that new Will Smith joint?
Yeah, dude, I think it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Or people see the commercials, the trailers, and oh, that looks cool, and oh, it's got Will Smith in it. Let's go check it out. And you maybe didn't like it after you walked into the theater, but they've already got your money. So,
I think I've talked to Steve about this, and that is definitely a thing, and exactly like we're saying, where they'll just put movies and they're backed by so much money and actors and like the studio that they can just write off that. So even if they're not good, they know they can, like Steve said, get enough people to see it where they got your money anyways. Right. It's like they don't even care if it's
Will
good.
Smith is a way
enough.
to get people in theaters, I think. He's one of the few actors that I think can do that.
And they did with this one.
Nailed it 100%. I have no idea if that's really what resulted in him ending up being in this specific film. But there are a huge number of instances where the studio specifically went after a particular person just because they happen to be fitting enough for a lead part, and the studio knows that Tom Cruise or Will Smith or Jim Carrey automatically draws people into the theater, and they'll often do it specifically with films. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad movie, but they'll do it a lot of the time, specifically with films they don't think would get a lot of attention otherwise.
The Mummy.
Yeah, having the star draw to the box office. So-and-so's in it. Let's go see it.
That's actually one of my pet peeves is when they do that. But when they do that with one or two actors, especially one.
Yeah.
How many movies or posters have you seen for new movies that come out? And it's just like Tom Hanks or like Tom Cruise, The Mummy. It was just like Tom Cruise, just one guy. This movie was two people, and arguably Will Smith was the only big one because Jaden's not a real big actor. So they're putting all this money behind like one or two people.
Right.
I think that's the worst strategy. They should, have more people instead of putting huge billboards with one fucking name on it or like one person.
That
I
person's
hate
the
that.
draw.
Yeah.
They got to do what works for him, man.
I
Look,
hate
that's
that.
how Jim Carrey got $20 million to be the Riddler. Like, that is literally how it happened.
To just say zany shit on camera for like.
Was he top billed in that?
I'm pretty sure. Or,
I think he was.
yeah, I mean, either was or
probably
very close to it.
How much is
yeah.
he getting for Sonic?
Oh, man. Not whatever it is, it's not enough.
Sanic?
Sanic.
Are they going to redo Dr. Robotnik too?
Oh, God.
Well, they had two versions of him in the trailer. They had like annoying Jim Carrey, and then they had super annoying Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Toward the end of the film, I think he makes the transition into the Uber doctor.
The Uber driver.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's final form. You haven't even seen my final form yet.
All right, guys, real quick. On any rating scale you want, Steve, what do you give After Earth?
I can't even think of anything funny. I'm just gonna rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm gonna give it a 1. Like, I believe there is virtually no such thing as a 0 score movie outside of just complete and total incompetence, inability to get the movie even made correctly. This movie was made correctly. The costuming and the art design, the set design, the cinematography, none of it was particularly special, but none of it was. It didn't come off as being amateurish. It didn't seem as if the people making it didn't know what they were doing. But that's like the single highlight I could give the film. Like, everyone clearly knew how to properly make a movie. It's just the one that they made was really bad. So it gets a 1 from me. Yeah.
What about you, Alan?
I'm going to go on a very similar tone with Steve. I give this 1 out of 10 Asrus. Basically what Steve said. I mean, it doesn't get a 0 just for the fact that the effects were there. You could tell they tried. They put money into it. Nothing looked particularly bad. It was just the story, the acting, the script. I mean, it was basically people who know how to make movies, like Steve said, doing the best of what they had. I mean, you can't turn a crappy script like that into gold. So, they put the time into it. And again, it didn't look particularly bad. The sword looked kind of cool, but everything else was bad.
Right.
I agree. It's pretty awful. I like the 10-point rating system right now as well. So I'm going to go 2 out of 10 Tide Pods. I think you're right, Steve. I mean, it's a movie. I can certainly say that.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking incoherent mess like Theodore Rex. It's comprehensible, but it doesn't fill in all the gaps that you need. The story's kind of boring. I don't like the CGI in it particularly. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but I just don't. It's not very pleasing to look at. The locations are cool, I guess. Some of the gadgets are fine, but yeah, not very good overall. Yeah. That's my rating.
Nothing got me invested into it. I felt like I was just kind of there. I didn't really care either way. Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah, I mostly just wanted it to be over.
If Will Smith had not made it at the end, if he had died just before they're rescued, I wouldn't have any emotional impact. That would have no bearing on me as an audience viewer of this film.
The most emotion was the giant condor that died.
Yeah, I felt bad the condor died.
Yeah. R.I.P. Super Condor.
All right, so we had some debate about this a little bit, about if we were going to just pick a movie or do from the hat. I think we landed on going back to the hat. I like the hat because it's kind of fun. Who drew last? Who picked?
I did.
Alan did.
Because I originally did Lady on the Water, but then we realized this was more stupid.
This is a dumber movie, and that's what we're all about here at Big Dumb Movie. Steve, why don't you draw from the hat?
All right, hat it up, everybody.
Use that good luck draw.
He's going to get Gremlins too. Come on.
I hope I do. I have a feeling there's some way worse stuff in here.
Or Armageddon.
What is this? Oh, well, okay. You know what? We can have fun with this one. Die Another Day.
The James Bond movie.
That is absolutely no comparison my least favorite Bond movie, and it's stupid, and I hate it, but it'll be...
More than Moonraker.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Definitely more than Moon. In Moonraker, they pseudo-remade as Never Say Never Again, and even that was way better than Die Another Day.
Who was in Never Say Never Again?
Connery... why do I always blank on her name? Alec Baldwin's ex-wife, the blonde woman. She's been in a million things.
Was she in the Simpsons episode?
She was the one. They were still married when they did the Simpsons episode.
Yeah, when Homer falls on her.
Why can't I think of her? But Kim Basinger.
Yes.
Kim Basinger and a few other people who had real careers, but whose names aren't popping out to me off the top of my head. But it was... Connery had specifically said at one point when he retired several years before that he would never do Bond again. That he just had no interest in coming back.
Oh, that's right. Then they put enough money in a suitcase, right? And
basically, yeah. Well, I mean, because Moonraker, there was a different script for Moonraker written by somebody who was not affiliated with the group of people who were producing those films, and it turned into a lawsuit. And Albert R. Broccoli and his company, Eon Productions, who had made all the Bond films at that point, won the lawsuit, and they made Moonraker. And several years later, the guy who'd written the original script somehow finagled it, that he could basically remake the story in accordance with his original script as Never Say Never Again. And the title was supposed to be a dig at the fact that Connery had said he would never play Bond again. And they got Sean Connery back to do one more Bond movie, even though it had been, I think, 2 films, if not 3, since he'd played Bond. And it was the only major Bond film not produced by Eon Productions, unless you count Peter Sellers' version of Casino Royale, but that was a spoof film and it doesn't really count.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it counts.
But yeah, and you know what? It's not a lot of people talk shit about it. It's actually not a bad movie. I think it's better than Die Another Day.
Is this the one right after GoldenEye with Halle Berry?
It's not right after GoldenEye. It's the last Brosnan film.
Yeah, it was GoldenEye, then Tomorrow Never Dies, then The World Is Not Enough, and then this one.
This is the one with Diamond Face.
In Korea.
Oh, I didn't see this one.
It's bad. No. It's stupid.
Who's the chick or who's the female?
No, not Halle Berry. No, this one is...
No, Halle Berry was the other one.
She was in this one.
Yeah, she was in this one.
Yeah,
okay. She was in this one with the Ice Palace and stuff. Jinx, yeah. Yeah, she was in The World Is Not Enough. It was Terry Garr, and in The other one, it was what was Wei Lin? Is that her name? She's a Chinese actress.
I don't remember.
I think there was, yeah.
I love the opening of Dino. I guess we'll talk about it next time, but I actually do really like the first 15 minutes or
That's
so.
actually, I agree with you. It's the only part of the movie I liked.
Yeah.
It's the only part of the movie I liked because they'd spent so long before then portraying him as like so superhuman. There was no way for him to die. And it's like, oh, finally, like here's Bond being kind of human and getting beaten up.
I've never seen this one actually, though, so I'm kind of excited.
Well, you'll see it now, my friend.
All right.
It's certainly a big dumb movie.
It is.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. If you want to write in, you can send us an email at bigdumbmovie@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram now, and we got a Facebook page, Big Dumb Movie. Anyway,
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Very good.
Especially like everything I have to say.
Put thumbs down for Steve's comments.
Thank you guys for listening, and have a good night.
Good night.
See ya.
Hey.
That sucked.
That is correct.